Chapter 2, Sammy. Sammy Storr got out of his car and surveyed the scene with his video camera. A small house was there, in major ruins, and a short fence made of large stones surrounding it. A few small, branchless trees had fallen onto the fence as well, and a shed was nearby, in even more ruins than the house was. Normally, he wouldn't want to go to this clearly abandoned location, but he was investigating Connor Manson Jr.'s disappearance. He promised Connor Manson Sr., Connor's father, that he would find his son, and find him he would. Sammy began to speak. "The date is October 20th, my name is SS, he said causally and quietly. On the side of the Manson family farm, continuing my investigation of Connor's disappearance." He took a deep breath and quietly sighed with determination. "Let's see what we can turn up." Sammy started towards the shed. The wood was rotten and falling away in places, and a few barrels and crates were strewn across the place. Chains hung from random areas on the ceiling. Sammy found a childlike drawing on one of the barrels drawn in marker. He guessed that it was drawn by Connor and he put it in his satchel as evidence. Looking around the shed, he saw a doorway leading to a grassy field, but it was blocked by a lift, which was being weighed down by a couple of crates. Sammy spotted a rickety staircase and started walking up it. He noticed a pulley with a lever attached to it, and the chain that wrapped around the pulley led directly to the lift. Sammy pulled the lever and the pulley rotated, raising the lift into the air and revealing the exit. Smiling, Sammy walked down the steps and went through the doorway. "It's just like a puzzle," he thought. He stepped out onto the grassy lawn and surveyed the area. A vast cornfield was laid out before him, and a large, black iron gate was there, but there was a padlock fastened tight around the handles. Sammy spotted a windmill, slowly turning, and a large silo with a generator sitting a good ways away from it. Sammy headed to the generator and tried to activate it, but nothing happened. He checked its fuel tank and realized that it needed gasoline to run. Gasoline, he realized, that it didn't have. The tank was empty. It looked like he was going to have to go find some. Shaking his head exasperatingly, Sammy turned toward the windmill and started to walk towards it. He hoped that it would have some gasoline stored somewhere near it, or possibly inside of it. He wondered why it would ever have gasoline inside, as it would seem like an odd place to put it, but he decided that it was worth a try and continued. Once he reached the windmill, he was disappointed to discover that there was a fence blocking the way, a barbed wire fence almost as tall as him. Sammy started to turn away in frustration, but he noticed something that was laid out directly in front of him, a few yards away. There was a trapdoor. Sammy walked up to the trapdoor, peering inside it. It appeared to lead into a dark cellar, with white walls and flooring, but it was near to pitch black down there and he didn't have a flashlight with him, so he wasn't going to get anywhere in there. But then he saw a panel on the wall, with a switch that turned the lights on or off. The switch was down. Sammy headed down the steps leading into the cellar, flicked the switch up. A bluish light lit up the cellar, but only briefly, as it flickered on and off at random times. Sammy knew that this light source wasn't perfect, but it would have to do. He started to walk down a very narrow passageway, which gave him a claustrophobic sense. He hung a right and was greeted by another long corridor, just as thin, however there were two doorways leading to other rooms, or possibly other passageways. At the end of the hall was a turn to the left. Sammy started towards the doorway closest to him, on the right. The lights turned off briefly, and when they turned on again, Sammy spotted something at the end of the hall. A thin, skeletal figure stood there, staring at him with blank, soulless eyes. Sammy's breath caught in his throat and he took a step back, startled. But then the lights completely shut off, then turned back on, and the figure was gone. Sammy's shoulders were tense and he could feel a sweat breaking out on his forehead. He slowly turned and continued into the room. Who was that? Sammy wondered. Am I starting to hallucinate from all this? He saw a set of wooden shelves, one of them containing another childish drawing, possibly left by Connor. On the wall, down near the floor, There were more drawings, this time drawn in black instead of the yellow, blue, and red colors of the paper drawings. Sammy spotted a gas canister on the ground and quickly picked it up. Turning, he started back the way he had come. But before he left the cellar, he snuck a look over his shoulder. The figure was absent from the corridor, and it unnerved him. If the figure wasn't there, and he wasn't a hallucination, then where was he? Sammy poured the gasoline into the generator sitting outside the silo and attempted to activate it again. He had noticed that it had started to get darker outside, even though he had only been in the cellar for about 10 minutes. When he arrived to the Manson field, it was just turning sunset, but now the sun was completely gone and the sky had gotten much darker. Sammy saw a blue light flicker on in the silo, relatively stronger than the one in the cellar, and it didn't black out as much. Relieved, he entered the silo, still searching for clues. At the end of a hallway he spotted another drawing, this time on the floor, and this one caused a jittery feeling to work its way up his spine. It was a drawing of the Shadow Man, in black, and it was the same style as the drawings on the pages that were Andrew when Sammy found him unconscious in the woods. He ignored the drawing and continued deeper into the sill.